position the brains, the thoughts and the mood for the next part of the service, on which I would like to invite you. I wouldn't say a sermon is quite official name. I would like to invite you to take part in a meditation upon some topics which came across my mind when I was studying Bible, and hopefully I'll be able to share with you the conclusion and the thoughts which I did summarize after this study. Right. Just bear with me. Okay. I'm not quite familiar with the technology on a sermon. When I used to preach, apps were just for fun. They are not on such a broad scale. Okay. We'll repeat again I'm sorry. So, the basic verse is written in Proverbs chapter 12, verse 22. Lying lips are abomination to the Lord, but the deal truly are his delight. That is quite interesting topic, wouldn't you say? Certainly, that verse is in harmony with a good number of verses in the Bible, which says purely, "Do not lie because it's bad." One of the verses among the least are even a 9th commandment, which says, "Thou shalt not bear false witness against your neighbor." Another verse or a concept of Apostle Paul written in Ephesians chapter 4 verse 25 says that not lying is a part of the transformation of an old sinful man into a new one who will be in unity with the Spirit and in the bond of a peace, forbearing each other in love. He was writing that being imprisoned, and the next verse where we find about not lying, or lying is a bad thing, is 1 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 9. It does say, "Vow ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of God. Be not deceived." It's quite straightforward, isn't it? On the next one, which would be able to come and find it, it's a Revelation chapter 21 verse 8, which says, "But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable and murderers do not inherit they won't get into the God's heaven." It's quite straightforward, and if we come back to find out what is actually a lie and what is telling the truth, what does it mean? What Bible clearly says that part of information is punishable, another part of information brings us to delight. So I would like to bring up some of the cases from dictionaries. So, seker, this is a Hebrew, we find it in the Bible, and in overall, it does say that the seker, or lying, is a break of a treaty or a contract. It does have, although, quite vast majority of the senses, and it travels between breaking a treaty, and the contract, up to vanity, which is based in Jeremiah chapter 37, verse 14. Also, in Old Aramaic, the scientists found a word called pale, which again has a meaning of breaking an agreement of someone. In other places, or throughout the Old Testament, we mainly find the meanings of lie, not giving a truth information, falsehood, partially not right, or breaking an agreement of someone. It's about more than 230 times we meet the verse seker or its derivations either in a verse, in the verses of a noun or a verb, is more than 132 times. If we go a little bit further and move to New Testament times, we know all that the New Testament was written in Greek. So the verse in original verse of New Testament is pseudos. Pseudos meaning falsehood or lie. And again, in a Greek, it does say that it's a breach of an agreement, it's a false assertion, error, or a deliberate false or a statement, or to be deceived. The word pseudos is met in New Testament about 10 times. It comes once in John. In epistles, it comes about 6 times and appears 3 times in Revelation. One of them we just read. In overall, most of the commentators are saying that falsehood is never understood for purely ethical perspective, but rather always as a sign of belonging to old Aeon and its ruler, or El, relating to a devil. It's another thing. Right. If we come back, move it even further and come to the modern times, what is a definition of a lie or not telling the truth in nowadays? So the meanings of not telling the truth in Romanian, I don't want to be proud, but I want to confess that I speak 3 languages, so I had a chance to check 3 dictionaries. So in Romanian it does say not telling the truth, telling half a truth, or a deceiveness. The English versions says write something that is not true in order to deceive someone, or either a false statement made with deliberate intent to deceive, or inaccurate or untrue statement, falsehood. Russian version of, or the dictionary of a Russian language says a falsehood made of intention, on a purpose, some deceiveness, or a lie, or not telling the right information. So, in overall, most 3 languages, and all 3 languages, including Old Testament times and New Testament times, and nowadays, that term didn't evolve much. The meaning is quite the same: not giving the right information, not disclosing the whole information, or breaking the previous agreement. It's all limited to lies. And one of the commentaries, the proverb, that passage we've taken apart, we've read already, it says that commentators generally place these proverbs under the heading of a speech, where only the verse 21, the previous verse, is different. This topic was a favorite for the sages. Speech, silence, and self-control are all bound up together. Moreover, speech is viewed from more than one aspect. There is correct speech and deceitful speech. Another point of emphasis is the Hebrew manner of expressing speech by means of the parts of the body: lips, tongue, mouth, and even the palate. Every effort is made in above translation to convey literally what is use of the bodily organs. Proverbs 12:22 says that the theme of truth in speech returns to a phrase of literally do the truth. The opposition between abomination and the favor of God was already used previously in Proverbs chapter 11 verse 20. Also, that verse has been found among the writings of Amenemheb. It's an Egyptian scribe who offered the instruction of the Amenemheb, and he did live in a period of a pharaoh of the 21st dynasty. And he did say, in Amenemheb's word, he did say, "Do not speak falsely to a man, the God abhors it." At the beginning of the sermon, I've been told that I've got to finish at a certain time. So I may please the elder and the general rule of the church and stop here, because it's more than enough verses and witnesses saying that lie is not good, isn't it? And it can be punished. Whoever lies won't get into heaven. So we can stop here. But in fact, is it right? Is it definitely a lie, a sin? Are you agree with me? You want to say that it's absolutely sin, and whoever lies, God kills, exterminates like Achan, or blesses? So, what do you think? White lies. That's a good point. So, white lie. Does the white lie get punished by God? So, but it's still abomination, isn't it? Right, so shall we continue? The good question I ask myself, how comes that, or how can I lie and not get punished? If it's a case. Or if all lies are punishable, what happens to me if I usually lie on a day-to-day basis? Even without any purpose, even without thinking about that. Probably fortunately, or maybe unfortunately, our life cannot be classified into a black and white category, where black stands for a lie or something untrue, something unusual, and white, wherever we say truth, we've got a tick up there, getting another point, another reason to deserve heaven. If we try to analyze our own lives, you would probably come to the point that many of our own deeds can be classified somewhere to compare with a colorful chart, somewhere in a category of numerous shades of gray or ish. And this is probably a blessing, that God usually doesn't look only to our deeds, but He looks on our heart. He is looking for something. He is looking to an intention, to a purpose, why that person has done that or that. So now, if you agreed that we meet the white lies, lie for sake of good, lie for sake of maybe life, saving a life, or not telling the truth because you're concerned of the reaction of a specific person. So I'd like to invite you to analyze few stories of the Bible, of different persons, and try to find out what is in common of all these people. So, first of all, sorry, the icon is not quite clear, but the image shows of Abraham and Sarai in front of a Pharaoh. The next one would be the midwives, the Hebrew midwives. And a long story, short story, Abraham was concerned about his own skin more than anything else. And he said to his wife, "Tell to Pharaoh that you're my sister. And maybe I'll be alive." Because he was concerned that having no any family relationships, any family connections in Egypt, won't stop Egyptians and a Pharaoh to kill him and take his wife, who was at the age of 65, notably very beautiful. Another story, so in fact it was a lie. Was it either white lie or black lie? You never know, but the outcome of this one, I cannot say it was a punishment. He came into Egypt as a millionaire, having bunches of herds, livestock, and ended up getting out of Egypt, talking in now a modern language. He was deported. Pharaoh deported him with a good number of camels, which were actually a logistical business. So he somehow was punished by becoming a billionaire. It's quite good punishment, isn't it? Right, next one. Hebrew midwives. Pharaoh told them, "Look, I don't want Hebrews to grow in numbers, so every time you go to give a birth to a boy, kill him. I am the God, I am ordering you. If it's a girl, let it live." So, what midwives did do? They came to a Pharaoh and said, "Hebrew women are stronger than Egyptians. When we come there, they've already given a birth. There is nothing we can do." Next one. A same Exodus gives us a Moses in front of a Pharaoh, saying, "Pharaoh, can you leave our community to go outside for 3 days? Because otherwise we will get to make some celebrations, because otherwise we'll get killed." Pharaoh says, "Who is that? Who is that God? Don't know anyone. I'm not leaving you." We know all the further stories, but wasn't it a lie? And where is a thin line and a category? How do we classify? Is it white lie, black lie, good lie? Not very sinful lie, or lie for good? Another one we recently studied in a Sabbath school, Rahab. She did lie. She did lie to her king, who has given her probably a position in the society, who has given her a place. Some of the historians say that having a house in a wall of a town was quite posh. And she said, "No, I didn't see anyone. They went other side." And when she came upstairs, she said, "Be careful, they went other side. They'll be back in about 3 to 4 times. Avoid that route." It's a lie. Have you ever heard about Ehud? That story is written in Judges chapter 3. The Ehud was the guy who came to Eglon, the king of Moab. At that time, Israel did serve so far 18 years to that king. And he was left-handed. He came to the king to pay the bribe again and said, "King, I've got to tell you something." So he made the king to stand up, brought his left arm to his thigh, pulled up a dagger and thrust it into her belly. After that, he closed the doors, he locked up everything and went out, flee away. The guard even didn't notice about that. They thought the Eglon, the king is resting, so we don't disturb him. And they didn't disturb until the very late, when Ehud was already far away. The reaction of a god, you'll be surprised. Silence. Didn't say a word. The Bible further says that it was a war. Israel got independence, political independence, financial independence, and it was a peace for 80 years. 80 good years. It wasn't a lie. It was an assassination, a crime. And God is silent. The next story I would like to share with you was part of our last week's lesson, Sabbath lesson, Achan. We decided why not to get some enrichment. Piece of gold. You know all the story, so I won't go into detail. The next one is a David and Achimelech. He met a priest. Priest was concerned about what's going on, why you are here, because everyone know about the drama between the king and his opposition. David did live in a dictatorship government. He wasn't in democracy. And the idea about the dictatorship state that all opposition is either outside of a country or dead. And David said, no, I'm good of soul now. I've got some business, but all my men are here because it's top secret. No one does need to know anything, but I need some food. And can you give me a sword as well? Is anything, because I left in a hurry. I don't have anything. It was a very severe lie. The next one, but not the last one. With the last one, you'll be probably surprised. I wouldn't do that on intention, but I assume that I anticipate your reactions. So the next one was from a New Testament, and you know very well the story about Ananias and Sapphira. They did send a piece of land. They did came and said, well, probably we're thinking not to share everything with the community as a general practice at that time, and they said, this is what we want to give. It's a lie, and the sentence was straight away, straightforward, according to all other verses we've read before, that a lie is a sin, and they were punished. You'll be surprised about the next one, because did you ever know that even God was spotted in that practice? Was the God not even did tell lie or part of information, a falsehood information, but he teach his servant how to lie. This picture shows of how Samuel does atonement over the David. That chart shows us all the stories I've said. So, short story about Samuel and atonement. God says, I'm quite disappointed in Saul's reaction, Saul's life. Go and give an atonement of another person I've chosen. And Samuel says, well, God, I'm quite concerned because Saul is not a humble person. He said, no, don't worry about it. I'll tell you what to do. Just tell them that you get a sheep. You say that you come to a ceremony to celebrate. Don't tell anyone why you're there. Isn't that a lie? falsehood information. So when he came there, everyone asked, have you come for peace? With a peaceful visit or not? He said, no, don't worry about anything. I came to celebrate with you and to give some a celebration of a Sabbath and all our holidays. And when everyone was gathered, he did what he intended to. So the question which I've asked myself at the beginning, or shared with you at the beginning of my study, is still the same. What is the algorithm, or what is obviously the rule? How does God act? Why in some of the places, some of the stories of some of the persons, they not even were punished, they were done opposite. It did happen an abundant blessing in their lives and their lives among their neighbors. Why God in some situations did punish and kill, not even kill, but exterminated the whole family out of a society, complete written off. In some of the places he has given a peace. These examples I've given, they are not limited. They are not the only ones. Among them we can read, you probably remind yourself about the Jacob and about Jeremiah being in a prison, and many other stories which you'll certainly find whilst you do your Bible study. So, reading and analyzing all these stories, there is an interesting information or interesting fact comes out that all these stories can be divided into two big categories. The stories like Abram, Sarai, Jacob, midwives, Jeremiah, and all others, Samuel, were in one category where there is a good threat or a danger to the specific person or a group of persons. Somehow, being in a danger or being pushed into a situation when telling the truth might deduct or in a sequence can bring or result to a death of a speaker or a group of persons who is unguilty, who don't have any fault, any reasons to be killed. God accepts a lie or even guides how to do it. In a situations when there is no threat to the health or a death, it's punished straight away, like in Achan, Ananias and Sapphira. And these stories help us to understand better the writings of the Proverbs, the verse from Proverbs and New Testament, the theory of a concept of a transformation of a new man. So we would say that Bible was written between the 3rd and 2nd millennial. Now, in nowadays, you can say that was in the past. We are better off because we are civilized. We live in a democratic state. We respect each other. We know all these stories. We don't do like that. We are in the 21st century. So the question is, how good are we today? Do we lie? And how often? To the opposite side of ancient times, we have scientists who do sometimes practice some silly activities Apparently silly, but quite useful in our days. So, there is a study done in the Wisconsin University which says that they did study about 16,000 people over 91 days of a period. And they found out that the majority, 75% of the respondents, did do the minimal amount of lies, 0 to 2 per day. Another 6% of the respondents had similarly low levels of lying on average, but had days in which they lied much more frequently. Now, a good fact about this study is the reasons why do people lie. 21% to avoid others, 20% a thief as a humor, a joke, 14% oneself, 13% to impress someone else, to bring your progress in a life, in a career. All this number in that category, do you find a reason of being exposed to danger as an excuse to lie? Or a danger to life, health? Only 2% to hurt another person, so it's done on a purpose. 5% for the benefit of another person. And if you look to the right, who do people lie usually? 75% are face-to-face, and only 21% in the media, but I think it's much more. When we write a smile, everyone asks, how are you doing? You write a smile and you're not smiling in your heart at all. You may feel anger. Who do people lie to? Here you go. The best liars are your friends, 51%. Family, 21%. School, business, you can read. And the study says that very little lies. Apparently sometimes is someone confesses says I love you, and it's a lie. I was quite surprised that on Thursday night I heard on the radio that the recent study in UK says that in overall a person lies every 8 minutes in a 10-minute conversation. I was quite surprised, and later on that study came up to my head. So, what to do when we lie? What's going on with us? Are we definitely losing the heaven? You sure? How about all the patriarchs? Abraham, Jacob, they did lie too, but they are mentioned in Hebrew chapter 11 among the numbers people who do give us an example of persons of faith. Rahab is there. Everyone lies. The question is, why you lie? So, asking ourselves what to do. You're late to work, your boss is asking you why are you late? Sorry, stuck in the traffic. The information which cannot be tracked. Because now you look on a map, it shows red, and next minute it disappears. No one does record it. And no one is going to punish. Right. So, to conclude what we've gone through above, I would say gladly, I do live in a democratic state where many dangers or many threats which did experience the ancient person, do not exist anymore, or even though they are protected by government. You live in a state where you're not afraid that either your neighbor likes your car or any other belongings can take your life. We usually, in our lives, are not exposed to lie, to death, or a danger of our lives and our healths. So we literally don't have a reason to lie. Talking about lie in our days, right? Have you ever asked yourself, or have you ever known, how does the gospel is spread in Muslim countries, in extremist Muslim countries? When we hear from someone saying that the gospel of God is spread, the Christianity is growing there, but do you actually know how it's been spread there? Are you aware that all the Bibles and all other Christian literatures, books, magazines, newspapers are brought in those countries on a smuggling ways, illegally? And it's a lie. Whoever says in the Muslim countries he is a Christian, he's killed straight away and with no punishment. So, spreading the Christianity in Muslim countries, is it a reason why you lose heaven? Think about it. But God, the thoughts I would like to share with you is God somehow accepts our attitudes, our activities, in case we are put to danger. And if we come to the point what to do now, if we are in danger, we have a choice. We always have a choice. Either to say a white lie or to challenge our relationship with God. In Matthew chapter 11, verse 16, but Jesus said to us, "Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves, and therefore be wise as serpents and harmless as doves." Our day-to-day life is not so easy, but in most of the cases it is easy. It's getting complicated by our own actions. And a good advice to be harmless as a dove is a good one. To be wise as a serpent, we can achieve that if we read or practice the next verse, which is written in Matthew chapter 9, verse 13, which says, "But go ye and learn what it meaneth, I will have mercy and not sacrifice. For I am not come to call the righteous, but sinners to repentance." God is not looking for our deeds only. He is looking for our purposes, intentions, and reasons why we did act. He always does the connection between our thoughts and acts. He doesn't save us like chopping a tree with a hammer, over an axe, Just, you did lie, chopped off. You did say a truth, no. And we have many stories in the Bible on people apparently said truth and haven't been saved or blessed. So, talking about challenging the relationship with God, God said in Malachi chapter 3 that if you bring your tithe and offering to a church, you put me on test and you'll see how good I am. I reckon that there are many more ways how we can test God. We can test Him asking to give us a wisdom how to be a wise and a humble at the same time, how to avoid tricky situations and not to lie, or not to give an information which can ruin our person, our image, because no one likes in nowadays society the persons who do lie, even giving white lies. The verse I would like to finish off is written in Matthew chapter 11, verse 28. And it says, "Come unto me, all ye that in labor and are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest." In other words, God says, whatever troubles you go through, whatever difficulties you have, just trust in me. Give all the burden to me and take a seat. I'll deal with them. So, if we are not having any threats to life, to health, it doesn't affect the well-being of our neighbor, our family, or persons who do depend on us. Paying taxes is not of that category, but is mainly related to health and life. Just don't lie. If your boss is going to look, if my boss is going to look not in the right way to me because I was late, I'll say, next time I'll be in time. We're all human beings. We do all make mistakes. But we've got to remember, some of the mistakes cannot be repaired. Some of the mistakes ruin our image. Apparently, they don't harm our lives straight away. And the examples of Abraham's life in Egypt and his actions, Jacob and Esau, even David and Ahimelech, didn't happen anything bad in the lives of Ahimelech, Abraham, straight away on that time. But we all know that when Saul found out about David's visit, he killed everyone, all the family of Ahimelech. And David did regret about that all the life. Whatever Jacob did, yes, he was blessed. He got a family, but he never saw his mother since then. And yet, many things do happen, and there are some consequences which get into a place when we don't expect them. So, the easier way, but not the weakened one, is just bring your business to God. Let Him deal. He saved us. So let's pray about that. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm not quite familiar with these rules. I get always confused.